and hopefully things will go well. Tell Jeff Francis we are ready to go live. Works. Okay. For those of you watching, we are about to go live here. Hopefully we are going live with our meetings. We are going to go back to the broadcasting each month so we have better communication and better transparency with our district. So with that being said, if you are watching this and would like to look at the agenda, it should be on our webpage. If you just click on there, you should be able to follow along with our agenda online. So that being said, Dr. Swab, it's all yours.
Thanks. I'd like to call to order the Bradford Exempted Village Board of Education special session in lieu of regular session. Could we stand for the pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Dr. Swab,
Here.
Mrs. Brewer. Here. Pastor Reindl,
Here.
Mr. Biesecker.
Here.
Mr. Manuel.
Here.
I'd like to welcome everyone with us this evening, and we will go first to the review of the agenda and approving of our minutes. Do we have any additions or deletions to the printed agenda that we have before us? Seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the printed agenda?
I so move.
Second.
A second. Any discussion or questions? None, roll call for approval, please.
Mr. Manuel,
Approve.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer. Yes. Pastor Reindl,
Yes.
Mr. Biesecker.
Yes.
Our next item is approving the minutes from our special meeting, the June 15th, the meeting from June 29th, and the meeting from July 9th. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes? Maria, and a second, please.
Second.
Mr. Biesecker, any discussion, questions regarding the minutes? Hearing none, roll call for approval.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer.
Yes.
Pastor Reindl,
Yes.
Mr. Biesecker.
Yes.
Next, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Mr. Hurst to begin our administrative reports.
Okay, I have just two things for now. I've got some things to elaborate on later in the meeting, but for now, I just wanted to say we're excited that we're doing a couple projects around the school building. We started, gosh, clear back when we were working on the vestibules, getting door openers on each of the doors and one set in each of the vestibules. And that is actually at its final stages right now. So hopefully in the next week or so, we'll have operating door openers. So something that I think we probably should have had years ago, and something that hopefully the community will be able to appreciate and use.
Are we going to use the face recognition?
That's the hope. What our goal is, we've got that equipment. We wanted to make sure we were through the temperature taking piece before we transition those into the door openers. So when that happens, then we'll obviously mount that hardware and make it work that way too. So yeah, that'll be fun. Also want to say that we are, the secondary piece of our projects here is we are starting to get project managers and companies coming back with prices on our track. We received one today. We met with a fella, and I'll leave out names and prices, but we'll say that I think it's safe to say it was a little higher than what I expected. So we will continue to work with companies and see where we go, but we asked him to go back to the drawing board and see if everything that he had was essential to our project. And the last thing I wanted to say here, I had talked a while back about strategic planning. What I'm hoping to do is start that process next fall, looking at the potential of a levy and potential of a building project and everything else involved. It's going to be a busy time, but I've been searching around a little bit to find out if there are people out there that can help us through that project. and lead the process and kind of guide me through it. I've been through it. I've never been in charge of it. So I did talk with somebody that is a trusted colleague, and we do have some prices out there. I'm going to shop around a little bit, make sure we're getting what we need out of this, but hopefully with a little bit of help, if it's okay from you guys to spend. She had various levels of commitment, anywhere between $4,000 for the strategic planning to $5,500, I think, for the strategic planning plus an audit on our curriculum, which I want to find more information on what that really entails and what it'll tell us at the end. But it may be money well spent. So I'll be coming back to you in the next couple months and talk to you about that a little bit more and get that ball rolling where it should be. So that being said, unless you've got questions, I am done.
Any questions for Mr. Hurst? It's kind of nice, I imagine, as you're going through these projects with Carla's experience with tracks and cost. So it's nice to have a benchmark for which we know people should perform to. So
I will say publicly that having Carla on our team is priceless. So yes.
thank you. Next, Mrs. Burr, anything from the Career Center?
No.
All quiet for the summer. And next will be our treasury report.
Well, we have had some meetings since the end of the year, so the books are closed. We have everything successfully done. We came out a little ahead this year again, not to the extent that we have been, because I think we are at the point where we've garnered items in the way they need to be handled. So I think we've met a plateau where we've taken advantage of a lot of things. And I know Mr. Hurst is still looking into grants. We're trying to find everything when we need something special for the district. We are trying to find other ways to fund it other than general fund, so we can utilize that for education. So that's been some of the challenges, but some of the positives that we've been able to deal with over the years. The one thing that I think is most critical to talk about tonight is what's before you on the board, which is the final leg of the levy. And what happens should you successfully vote that tonight? It will go to the Board of Elections, and we'll go back to the county auditor. And the whole point of that, and I heard this very clearly in your discussion, was that you wanted to make sure that there was no way possible anyone would be damaged financially by this levy. So it was a conscious effort to make that occur. This levy is for 1.84 mils, and that should make it at a minimum, no one seeing any additional taxes, but in some cases they may see lowering of taxes. And we tried to make that consciously so that no one would be negatively impacted, but at the same time, it will allow for athletic facilities to move ahead in this district. So feel very good about that, about what we've been able to accomplish, but there's more work to be done, and we're going to keep working towards that. But I think it's going to be a great thing for this community to finally be able to look at physical structure like a track. The kids need it. It's just a shame that some of the other generations haven't been able to utilize a nice track, but this looks like it's a possibility for the future, and we're going to try to make things happen. This is just one leg of the transaction. We talked about a three-pronged approach, and this is the first prong to get that started. But this will be coming out on the November 4th levy with lots of information for people. We'll try to get any information, allow ourselves to have questions answered, and just very, very thankful that we're able to do this at this time. And with that, I will conclude my report.
Any questions for Carla? I'd like to make one comment. I appreciate, and we appreciate your effort of trying the board's philosophy of redirecting funds that we're already paying in taxes from paying on the building now to paying for improvements and creating a track and an athletic complex. So our investment can just change directions and allow us to move forward. Your experience with doing this before and creating the proper resolution and doing the calculations so that we meet our goals of not changing the taxes that our district pays, but redirecting what we already are investing from this physical structure to a new physical structure.
I think you have beautiful facilities in this district. I think it's a very nice facility, and just adding to it will make it that much nicer.
Yeah, and it kind of is where the master plan was when the building was built. Following that direction just takes a little time sometimes to get there.
Just 20 years.
20 years. Good things happen slowly. Next is public participation. I don't have any requests. So the next item is the financial report from the treasurer, which is approving the consent calendar items. The superintendent recommends approving the financial journal, the check register, and now and then certifications, approval transfer and advances for this month, and accepting the following donations from Deborah Wortman for the IVA Root Scholarship, donations from the Parent Engagement Kickoff from Production Paint, Clark's Pizza House, and the Train Stop, donations from the Common Ground Christian Church for the school lunch program, from the Covington Eagles for the purchase of volleyballs, from New Tech Plastics, purchasing of benches, from the Bradford Athletic Boosters for the Chad Nolan Scholarship, from Eldora Speedway for the Bradford FFA for their work in cleaning up the grounds, and a skid of cleaning supplies from Lowe's in the Troy location. I have a motion to approve those items before us.
So moved.
Second. Any discussion or questions regarding the items to approve? Hearing none, roll call for approval.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Pastor Rindle,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker.
Yes.
The next item is number 13, which is actually approving the resolution regarding the bond issue that we kind of just talked about a few minutes ago, which is really for the purpose of the athletic complex, redirecting funds from what our community's already invested in paying for the building to now pay for some additional athletic complex, which is completes our master plan that started, you said, 20 years ago.
Mhm.
And we have a motion to approve the resolution, item 13.
So moved.
And a second, please.
I'll second.
And discussions or questions that we have?
I want to throw out just a couple different pieces. Tomorrow, we're actually meeting for the first time with our architect. They're going to help us develop a master plan for this whole situation. Yes, we've got one from 2002 when the building was built. But we're talking about, gosh, what if we had a driveway to the back part of the track facility? What if we put up a barn that would help us out storing our very expensive buses out there and protecting those investments? Putting all those pieces together so when we do build the track, it's not in the way of a future piece that we want to include in our grounds. So that's the beginning stage tomorrow. Obviously, that's going to take some time. I do want to say that this levy that we are discussing here is going to be a very small sliver of the whole project. We figure it's going to be about a $1.7 million income to the school or income to the project. And what we're talking about, if we go with, depending on the scope of it, we're talking that would be a small portion. I'll just say that right now because we don't have prices yet on the whole project. And we could go in various stages of track versus track with restrooms, concession stand, locker rooms, lights, stadium stands, scoreboard, all those pieces to it. So there's various levels of commitment here, and this will at least get us started. So with hopefully, like I said, we said, no additional funds coming from our community.
Any other questions, comments? A roll call for approval?
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Pastor Rindle,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker.
Yes.
Next is old business, and the superintendent recommends employment of supplemental contract for Chris Bisecker for head varsity girls basketball coach for 2021-2022. Do I have a motion to approve?
So motion.
And a second?
Second.
Any discussion or questions? And roll call for approval?
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Pastor Reinald,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker.
Abstain.
Next is new business and consent calendar items 1 through 10. The superintendent recommends approval of resignation and employment. We have supplemental contracts for volunteer junior high football, volunteer high school football, assistant varsity boys basketball, and freshman boys basketball. We have resignation of Jeff Francis and Angela Cesare. We have, sorry, next page. Approving moving Dustin Oren to a master's column and Crystal Yinks to a bachelor's plus column. Approving the golf team traveling out of state to Richmond Elks Club and Highland Lakes Golf Club. Approval of the Jumpstart program for incoming kindergarten and begindergarten. Approving 3 teachers for the Jumpstart program for kindergarten and begindergarten. Approving gate admissions for athletics for the new WOAC conference. Ticket prices for high school football is $6 for other varsity games, $4 for sub-varsity junior high and freshman. And then passes for just our home local games of $75 for the adults, $25 for the students, $25 for out-of-district senior citizen pass, and $0 for district senior citizens pass. Next, approving the technology repair fees for 2021, 2022. Approving a contract with Dark County ESC for interpreter services for 2021, 2022. Approving Dark County ESC for the related services LBDC substitute coordinator gifted program membership fees. And that continues on. And that's the last of the items to approve. We have a motion to approve those items we reviewed.
So moved.
And a second.
I'll second.
Any discussions or questions for administration regarding the items before us? Hearing none, roll call for approval.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Pastor Reinald,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker.
Yes.
Next is item 11, which is recommend approval of employment for Alex Swab as a position of reserve boys basketball coach 2021, 2022. Have a motion to approve.
So moved.
And second, any discussion or questions? Hearing none, roll call for approval.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Dr. Swab,
Abstain.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Pastor Reinald,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker.
Yes.
The next item is a motion to enter executive session for item G1 on your agenda. I have a motion for executive session.
So moved.
And a second. Thank you. And a roll call to enter executive session.
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Pastor Reinald,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker.
Yes.
And no actions or voting will occur after exiting executive session.
6:48. Okay, I'm gonna go across the road here. See if I can walk.
7:36, we're out of executive session. Do we have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
Second.
And roll call for adjournment?
Mr. Manuel,
Yes.
Dr. Swab,
Yes.
Mrs. Brewer,
Yes.
Pastor Rindle,
Yes.
Mr. Bisecker.
Yes.
7:37.
We stand adjourned. Thanks, everybody, for this evening.